Hi, and welcome to the State of Soy. I'm Katie James. We're excited to bring you the first edition of Season 2. Our goal is to keep you up to date on all things soy while having a little fun along the way. The world of agriculture is always changing, so every month we'll track the latest trends, provide some insight on the markets, and shine the spotlight on various parts of the soybean industry. And coming up next, trade deals are in the news. We'll have the latest updates when we come back.
This edition of the State of Soy sponsored in part by Ag Processing Incorporated, AGP, a trusted partner of the soybean farmer in the procuring, processing, marketing, and transportation of oilseeds, grains, and related products. Farm Credit Services of America, dedicated to financing agriculture. The entire organization, from the people to the ag-friendly products, services, and support, works to help producers succeed. Farm Credit Services of America, agriculture works here. People's Company, their global perspective grounded in rural farming roots and a drive to continually innovate is what makes People's Company one of the nation's leading providers of land brokerage, land management, land appraisal, and land investment services. And by Bayer. Bayer, shaping agriculture by challenging the impossible.
Welcome back to the State of Soy. We're coming to you today from Rippey, Iowa, home to our ISA Board President, Tim Bardol. In fact, each show will take you to various locations around the state as we track the latest news in the world of soybeans. As 2019 was winding down, trade talks were heating up. So we sat down with farmer and ISA Director of Market Development, Grant Kimberley, to talk trade and how these new deals impact soybean farmers.
It's been a busy time of the year, certainly, with the news that USMCA has finally been able to move ahead. The House has passed USMCA rather soundly, and so now the next move is for it to go to the Senate at some point here in the near future. But there are some complications because of the impeachment side of things. The timing of when that would all occur, we're not sure yet. But all indications are, the Senate will also approve it and the President will sign it. And what this means to soybean farmers and farmers in general is that we continue to have a great access to our closest neighbors, Mexico and Canada, for soybeans. Now, keep in mind, we already had 0% tariff process when it came to soybean exports to Mexico. So this new trade agreement doesn't change things that much, but what it does do is provide certainty for farmers that that process will remain in place. The benefits that other parts of agriculture will see is some better access for some of the livestock and meat products. And so that'll be where the bigger advantage is. But the good thing is that this provides certainty for farmers that we're going to continue to maintain access to our closest markets. And Mexico is the #2 market for U.S. soybeans and U.S. soybean meal. That means that we won't revert back to the pre-NAFTA days where we actually did have tariffs that were in place. So it just ensures that we're going to maintain our 0% tariffs to Mexico and continue that process and provides that certainty. And as I said, some of our other partners in agriculture, the livestock industry, might get some additional access for enhanced exports, which is helpful for our domestic demand for soybeans. The China saga has been going on for a couple of years now, and we've had tariffs and retaliatory tariffs and increases in tariffs and temporary exemptions and truces. It's been much like probably a Star Wars movie, but hopefully now we're in the third act, the final of the trilogy, and I would assume that now we're going to go forward, and it sounds like we've reached a Phase 1 agreement in principle at the time that we're looking at this, but we still have to see the details ironed out. There's a lot of details that have yet to be confirmed by both sides, and we have to see both sides sit down and sign that agreement. China's already started to purchase some soybeans this fall, but this is the normal time of the year for them to want to purchase U.S. soybeans. After that trade agreement is signed, those are some of the details that we have to see. We're hopeful that they'll continue and even increase their purchases that much more shortly after that. But the reality of it is, though, there is going to be competition from South America. Their crop's going to be harvested here in February and beyond. And so that's going to create challenges, I think, for China to be able to fully implement the purchase side of the agreement right away. And in all reality, it's probably going to take a year or two for all the aspects of this agreement to kick into place. And keep in mind, this is only phase one, so there has to be a phase two as well. I'd be remiss if I didn't say there's still risk that things could go either direction on this, but all indications are right now that we're moving in a positive direction. And we want to see China resume the purchases they did a couple years ago before this trade war started, and that was about 36 million metric tons from the U.S. But then we've seen that slowly erode down to 28 million metric tons and down to 13 million metric tons this last year. So that's a major decrease for us. And you just can't replace a country like China by increasing exports in other parts of the world. We have done that. We've increased exports in other parts of the world. We've redoubled our efforts to gain market share, but it's still not enough to completely offset what we have in China. So it's really critical for the soybean industry to be able to regain access to the Chinese market. And that requires a reduction in tariffs from China, the retaliatory tariffs on U.S. soybeans. One other point I would like to make is that currently China has exemptions for 9 companies in China to buy soybeans, so they would get exemptions on the current retaliatory tariffs, but there are about 25 to 30 companies that have historically purchased soybeans in China before. So if we want to see a full resumption of purchases from China, we need to see those retaliatory tariffs removed or dramatically reduced, or every single company that can purchase have exemptions, because you're not going to be able to fully implement the goals of maybe $40 billion worth of ag purchases if we don't have all the companies in China able to buy.
ISA Board President Tim Bardol graciously opened his farm to us for the first show of the season, and he joins us now. Tim, as a farmer, lots going on. What are your thoughts on these trade updates?
It's kind of a roller coaster, and the importance of trade for soybean farmers, it's kind of different than probably every other aspect of agriculture when you're looking at 60% of what we grow needs to be exported. So everybody's listening and trying to figure out, do I need to sell soybeans today, or is it going to get better?
We'll visit the Farm for Profit conference when we come back.
Hope. It's a hard thing to hold on to in the face of adversity. But it's where you belong. Keep moving forward. Prove to the world you have what it takes. So the next time you feel defeated, don't forget. That grit, that determination, it got you here. Remember, you were made for this.
Take a look at what's coming up at the Iowa Soybean Association. Of special note, the ISA Research and Results Forums are quickly approaching. The ISA research teams will be at 4 locations in February, including Storm Lake, Red Oak, Washington, and Ankeny, delivering the latest research results and tools to help your 2020 be more competitive. You can register to attend online at iasoybeans.com. The 2020 growing season will be here before we know it, and this is a great time to make plans for a profitable year ahead. That was the topic at the Farm for Profit conference in Nevada, Iowa. That's where we caught up with Paul Mussman, the president of AgWest Commodities. Paul shared some of his expertise on commodity price projections and marketing strategies with the State of Soy.
Unfortunately, only about 10 or 12% of producers are doing an effective job at marketing. The rest of them are just price takers. They have not followed a very good pattern. And when I say they, I'll put myself in that same boat. It is very difficult to ask a farmer watching a crop that maybe be deteriorating in crop conditions while you hear all the noise about what could have or should have or what may happen. This year it was a foregone conclusion that corn was going to 5 and that beans were going to 10. That's all we heard. So as you drive by a soybean field, if you're a farmer in late May or early June, how could you sell at 9 when everything you hear is 10? It's the fear of missing out. We live by that. My dad used to call it something different. Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. There's a lot of sayings out there. So do I find the American farmer being more successful with marketing? No, unfortunately I don't. We all have to listen to that noise We all have to hear everyone talking about what it could have and should have, and now those people aren't around that were saying $5 corn and $10 beans. Where are they at when it's time to pay the bills or answer to the banker? Every year, I think more and more people get involved, but it has been an extremely tough battle. It's extremely tough and very difficult emotionally and financially to do. It just takes time and continued education. So every year, I think with us and with AgWest, we gain more and more customers, but there's so many customers out there that need a lot of help. You really can't solve all their problems in 1 year. If you sell today or you price some crop today and it goes up tomorrow, should you be happy or should you be sad? And if the hardest thing that we've got to deal with in 2020 is a market going up, is that really the most difficult thing we'll have to deal with? That should be a celebrated event. It should be a positive. No matter if you sold 10, 20, 30, 50, or even 80% of your crop. If it goes up, I think they're in the business of having another crop the next year and the next year and the next year. So an up market should not be something that we're scared about. It shouldn't be something that we fear. It should be something we celebrate. That's how we attack the marketing side. We took soybean inventories from a year ago, over 900 million, still here at home, and we cut those in half. We chopped it in half in 1 year. Excellent demand. We're actually exporting now more than what most people would believe. Absolutely, we lost some acres last year because of some weather-related issues, but in 1 year, we cut a balance sheet in half. Also, in the last 4 years, the soybean worldwide inventories have been sliced. That's very optimistic in my mind. We're not using less, so that's very positive.
And coming up next on the State of Soy, it's conservation in action. Stay with us.
This edition of the State of Soy sponsored in part by Ag Processing Incorporated, AGP, a trusted partner of the soybean farmer in the procuring, processing, marketing, and transportation of oilseeds, grains, and related products. Farm Credit Services of America, dedicated to financing agriculture. The entire organization, from the people to the ag-friendly products, services, and support, works to help producers succeed. Farm Credit Services of America, agriculture works here. People's Company, their global perspective grounded in rural farming roots and a drive to continually innovate is what makes People's Company one of the nation's leading providers of land brokerage, land management, land appraisal, and land investment services. And by Bayer. Bayer, shaping agriculture by challenging the impossible.
Conservation is a big topic in agriculture, and the Iowa Soybean Association is at the forefront with the Soil and Water Outcomes Fund. Here to explain the program and how you can get involved is Adam Keel with the ISA Conservation Initiative.
The Iowa Soybean Association and our partner Quantified Ventures are launching the Soil and Water Outcomes Fund, and it's really focused on rewarding farmers for producing environmental outcomes from their conservation systems on their farm. By that I mean the water quality outcomes that result from things that are implemented on the farm, as well as putting carbon in the soil. So we're really paying farmers for water quality and carbon outcomes, but structuring as a new revenue stream that they can view just like they're familiar with from other commodities that they sell. We're really putting the decision making in the hands of the farmer, which is rather unique. They can submit an application through our website, theoutcomesfund.com, and we will review what they're proposing to do, and that could be any number of things. It could be cover crops, it could be no-till, it could be switching some row crop land to pasture. Anything is on the table. We will look at what they're proposing and determine what environmental outcomes would result from that, and then pay them accordingly. We have a pricing structure set up for pounds of nitrogen, pounds of phosphorus reduced in the water, as well as the amount of carbon put in the soil. So the outcome payment is really determined by what the farmer wants to do. If a farmer that's conventional tilling ground currently with no cover crops switch to strip till plus cover crops, that annual payment could be in the neighborhood of $40 to $45 per year. And as long as they're doing those practices and producing those outcomes, that payment would continue. In the landscape of water and climate and interested parties in these outcomes, we're focused in on the supply chain companies who have sustainability goals. Cargill is one of our key partners, and they recently announced a big sustainability push for reducing greenhouse gas and putting carbon in the soil and supporting farmers in that endeavor, and the Walton Family Foundation. But we hope to bring in additional investors into the fund. Municipalities also have a desire to improve water quality and reduce nutrients in the water. So we anticipate a couple Iowa municipalities to start paying farmers for those outcomes that they can generate on their farms. So blending together multiple payers on that is rather unique, and I'm not aware of any other efforts across the country that are blending payers in the way that we are. So we think what we're doing here is rather novel and really offers farmers a very unique opportunity to get compensated for conservation while at the same time providing those beneficiaries, the Cargills of the world and municipalities, a relatively low-cost solution for the things that they desire. The ag sector and farmers specifically could present society with a huge environmental benefit. Most historical programs, either through the government or other cost share programs that farmers are familiar with, really focus on paying the farmer for the practice. We're focused on paying for the things that those practices generate, which we know are robust and beneficial to our environment and society. So we tried to structure a fund that accomplishes that. And I hope that this pilot year of 2020 will prove out that farmers are interested in this, which we've heard great feedback so far, and that we're producing outcomes that are valued by the purchasers of those outcomes as well as society as a whole.
Coming up next on the State of Soy, we'll look back on 2019. Stay with us.
Hope. It's a hard thing to hold on to in the face of adversity. But it's where you belong. Keep moving forward. Prove to the world you have what it takes. So the next time you feel defeated, don't forget. That grit, that determination, it got you here. Remember, you were made for this.
Take a look at what's coming up at the Iowa Soybean Association. Of special note, the ISA Research and Results Forums are quickly approaching. The ISA research teams will be at 4 locations in February, including Storm Lake, Red Oak, Washington, and Ankeny, delivering the latest research results and tools to help your 2020 be more competitive. You can register to attend online at iasoybeans.com. Every year on the farm is unique, and there are many ways to measure success. For one Iowa soybean farmer, success in 2019 included a triple-digit soybean yield. That's right, Dwayne Reeder of Lawton, Iowa certainly has bragging rights, thanks to his 102 bushel per acre soybean crop.
We started out last year in the National Corn Growers Contest, and then we just decided with my agronomist that why don't we do the beans too, and shoot for 100 bushels. And that's what we did. You know, you've been farming 42 years and your goal is always to produce as much as you can with as much agronomy that you can get put into a crop. And that's what our goal was. We originally put on, I believe it was 125 pounds of P&K and 20 pounds of sulfur and 10 pounds of zinc. My total tillage practice is punching holes with an airway. That's the only thing we do as far as tillage. And it really it doesn't disturb the soil very much. It leaves the residue on top, but yet it gets the fertilizer down in a deeper profile, puts a little organic matter in the soil. And we've been doing that for probably 30 plus years. 42 years of farming. This was probably the latest I've ever planted. It was cold, got rain. Conditions were never perfect. It was always the soil was not in perfect condition to plant, but had to get going sometime. The last field we planted was June 1st, I believe. This here area where we live, like Lawton area, Kingsley area, Mobile, Remsen, Marcus area, through this area here, we were kind of like the garden spot of northwest Iowa, actually. We got rains when we wanted it. Most things emerged pretty good. Overall, I thought this was a decent growing season.
We were out here every Monday, pulled a tissue sample, got the results back Wednesday. We were reviewing them, and then whatever it needed, we would feed it. There's a few times throughout the year where the tissue sample, just the timing of the stage, we put on a product called like QLF Boost that is a sugar-based product. So we basically sprayed sugar on it.
When the plants started putting pods on, and we went out there and we started counting them, that's when we got kind of excited.
It was just unbelievable. We were counting plants that had 150, 170.
We actually thought we were going to be better than 100. You knew you had a pretty good crop coming.
What I heard a lot of, oh, you guys are throwing all this money in there, it's not gonna pay. Well, we didn't go crazy. We did agronomically what it was calling for, to feed that plant to get it to where it needed to be. Mother Nature, didn't cooperate. If we could have had that plant in 3 weeks earlier, who knows what it could have been.
In mid-July, we put a 50, 4760 dry fertilizer out there. I did a micronutrient package in with it also. For land that you own, I think what we did here would be a good practice now. We only did this on 50 acres. We're definitely going to do the fungicide, insecticide on all the acres of beans this coming year, without a doubt. I don't care what the price is. We're going to do it because I think it'll definitely pay.
If you figure even if you can get an extra 20 bushel of beans, even at $8 beans, it's 160 bucks an acre. So your return on investment is there. You just have to take the time, you have to babysit it, be in that field once a week and know what it's doing. Don't just drive down the road, oh, everything looks good.
When we got the ticket back, we were just kind of doing cartwheels, 100 plus. That's pretty exciting. This is the weigh ticket that we got when we did it. It was 613.33 bushels on 6 acres. We're having a lot of fun. Actually, next year we hope to do better.
We want to thank Tim again for hosting us, and thank you for watching. If you have any comments or story ideas, send me an email or give us a call. As we close the show, we leave you with a look back at 2019's tragedies and triumphs, as seen through the lens of Joe Murphy. We'll see you next month on the State of Soy.